Welcome back. A number of people in eastern Connecticut who prepaid for their funerals have realized that the funeral home owner who received that money may have spent it on gambling and vacations instead. Chief investigative reporter Sam Smink has been covering the story. She's joining me now, along with Luke DiMaria, owner of the Brooklawn Funeral Home right here in Rocky Hill. Welcome, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Sam, I want to start with you because you've been covering this story a lot and so many people have been following it. Tell me the latest on where we are with this investigation.
Okay, so Philip Petrus is the name of the funeral home owner, and he owns some funeral homes in Vernon, Tolland, Coventry. Vernon police tell me that they have more than 50 complaints that they're investigating. State police in Tolland say they have about a dozen, and the police in Coventry say they have about a dozen. Now, he was first arrested in April because DSS had actually found that he may have taken prepaid funeral funds from some of their clients. State police arrested him then. So really now we're waiting on more arrests to come. And it sounds like just every time his name is brought up on the news, they get more and more complaints. So I think they're all kind of waiting to see where that goes.
And I know we have a little bit of Year in Peace, so let's take a look.
Ted Koch's backyard in Vernon is the perfect place for him to spend his retirement. In peace, watching the birds. But recently that peace has been disrupted.
As Nixon once said, it's like stubbing your toe. You're too old to cry, but it hurts too much to laugh. And you're sitting there for the next 5-10 minutes, kind of stunned. What do we do now, you know? What can we do?
Ted is going over the questions he started asking after finding out the money he spent on prepaid funerals for he and his wife didn't exist anymore.
We signed up and for $10,000 each.
$20,000 that Ted says Philip Petrus, owner of Burke Fortin Funeral Home in Vernon, told the couple he was putting into an escrow account for them. Petrus was arrested by state police in April, accused of stealing more than $80,000 from 8 disabled clients. State police say he used the money to gamble and take vacations.
He had made over 873 trips to the casino.
Ted said he and his wife only learned their money was missing after watching a Channel 3 segment on Philip Petrus. They called their escrow agent to double check. Ted calls the ordeal a bump in the road, but says his family will recover.
There's a lot of people out there that are not in the same boat as I, and that's the ones I feel sorry for.
It's those people he hopes the state can bring peace.
You see that, and you can just tell how upset that guy is, and there's so many more people like him. Luke, we wanted to have you here to talk about some advice, some practical advice for our viewers, and I want to go through a couple of different categories of people who might be watching, and the first is people who might have already done this, like that gentleman that Sam talked to. They're probably racking their brain, am I okay, what should I do? Tell us the advice. What should they go look for?
Sure. First, thanks for having me, both you, Eric, and Sam. They should have 3 documents, and I brought them along. The funeral contract, basically showing everything you've purchased, the general price list that's required by state law, Federal Trade Commission, and this is the most important one, the pre-need contract. Now, the pre-need contract has 2 elements to it. One, it should be listing who the trustee is, who is going to be holding that money. Secondly, is it irrevocable or revocable? State of Connecticut statutes, they want it irrevocable for people that are going on any kind of Medicaid or Title 19. So those are the first 2 things that you really should look for on that document.
And so if somebody had come and done one of these, say at Brooklawn, they would look for a blue folder like that and be able to go back and see it. But one other thing that I thought was interesting is there's a tax form you should be getting, and so that might be an annual reminder of hey, this is all in a good spot.
Yeah, exactly. Just as a bank account that you have on your own, these trust companies will send out some December 30th, 31st, showing the interest that the account has earned. Because again, it's still your money. It's just held in escrow until the need is needed, you know, until the death occurs.
And so you'd be getting that statement. So it's a good thing, people, to think about, you know, maybe once a year, just remember that we're getting that in, and that means all is well. Some people might have seen Sam's reporting and said, gosh, you know, I'm not going to do this. This now seems risky because this guy did it. But I know you disagree with that, and you think if you're careful, you can do it the right way.
Yes. I mean, I've always been an advocate to pre-plan. The important thing now is once you sit down with your local funeral director and they've identified who the trust company is, this is the key. Don't make the check payable to the funeral home. Make the check payable to the trust company. They're the escrow agent. They're going to be holding the money. So there really should be no reason for the funeral home saying, make the checks payable to us. That would probably establish a different outcome than what you're dealing with the this funeral director.
That's what they did. That's what Ted, who you just heard from, he was asked to make it out to the funeral home, which he thought was weird, but he'd never done this before. So big red flag. That's a good point.
And that's something that's easy for people to watch out for. Tell me, I wanted to ask Luke a little bit more, but tell me what you're looking for in your investigation, because every time you air this story, and probably again this Sunday morning, more and more people are coming out of the woodwork. What are we watching with this guy?
Well, on Tuesday, he has a hearing with the Department of Public Health. His license has already been suspended, but he has a chance to argue for it back in front of DPH. He already did not show up to 2 other hearings, so he is required to show up to this one. And there has also been talk from other funeral directors around the area that were on some of these DPH hearings, because it's public, who were asking to also strip his funeral home itself of its license. Because right now they're saying if somebody goes in there and they don't know about this history, how do they know that Petrus is not actually helping them? Or can you even trust the funeral home? So that's where a lot of funeral directors have a lot to say, and we'll be covering that on Tuesday.
And Luke, I know a lot of the clients who come into my law office to do estate planning or probate work, they'll say that they want to do something like this. And I'm sure you see this, and I know you take a lot of pride in what you do. It's a little bit of a black eye for the industry, and it must upset you.
Yeah, it is. You know, unfortunately, there's always a bad apple in a bushel. So you have to have confidence in your local funeral director. I think there's a lot of men and women in the funeral industry that do a fantastic job. But unfortunately, you know, we're dealing with this right now because of this one bad apple.
But you do get, if people come in and talk to you about it, it's something that for a lot of people, it's a smart choice to do the prepayment.
Yeah, I encourage it. One, they get peace of mind, as well as now the children don't have to worry, what did mom want? Did she want, you know, this casket or that casket? Did they want cremation? They're making their own decisions so the children don't have to.
And Sam, do you expect that we're just going to keep hearing about more and more victims?
Oh, absolutely. I had already heard from someone else who says that his son, who's disabled and is in the Institute for the Blind, may have had the same thing happen to him. So I expect the web just to keep weaving, and it'll be interesting to see if Petrus 1 shows up on Tuesday and what he has to say, because DPH is very angry. There's a lot of witnesses that are on hand, including some people who allegedly had their funds stolen. So it'll be very interesting.
All right, Luke DiMaria from the Brookline Funeral Home, Sam Smink, as they say in the business, will stay tuned. I think there will be more. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you so much.